Welcome to the show, folks. Hey, if you don't know me, my name is Mike Asherbranner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector and proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business. And you are tuning in to ESPN RVA 106.1 on Mike King Biz Radio. Hey, thank you for tuning in each week. We had such a stellar lineup, and folks, you're in for an even more special treat. It just gets better and better if that's possible. We got the one and only Chris Jarvis. All right. Here's the deal. Most entrepreneurs are running hard, right? Grinding daily and doing everything right. They still feel stuck on a treadmill, right? The Hounds will attest to it. So today's guest, Chris, knows exactly why and how to break free, folks. Chris Jarvis is a world-class strategist who spent over 30 years advising millionaire and billionaire entrepreneurs, medical professionals, entertainers, and high net worth families. He's the creator of the Giraffe Philosophy, author of Giraffe Money, and host of Be the Giraffe TV. All right. All about helping people see higher, think differently, and rise above the constant noise that keeps most achievers stuck, folks. So we're going to dive right into this. No time to waste. And folks in the comments, thank you so much. People on the air. Yeah, you make this possible. We love you. We'll see you right back here in just a minute.
Looks like your business might be in a bit of a pickle. Don't you worry about a thing. You ain't alone in this. You're just a success story waiting to happen. Trust me on that. Every bump in the road is just an opportunity wearing a clever disguise. Welcome to the Hounds of Business community, where we don't just sit around twiddling our thumbs. Nope. We turn those obstacles into mighty fine stepping stones. This here's a place where high-level entrepreneurs and sharp professionals gather to grow their businesses and mindsets, kind of like how a good old gumbo needs the right ingredients to be something special. Ideas thrive here, and collaborations, well, they're as natural as sweet tea on a hot day. Success, it's a journey, and we're fixing to walk that road right beside you. Now, don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn for all the latest tips and insights. We're talking about the kind of wisdom that'll keep you ahead of the game. And while you're at it, head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got ourselves a treasure trove of videos, from expert interviews to webinars, everything you need to stay sharp in this fast-moving world of business. The Hounds of Business community? Well, we ain't just a network, we're a movement. So why not come on and be part of something bigger? Join us today and let's turn your business journey into a real Southern success story. Together, we'll achieve greatness, just like crawfish and singing on a Friday night.
All right, folks. Well, I don't even have to ask this guy. He's international man of mystery. He was just in Antarctica, so he probably does know about crawfish and singing on a Friday night. Let's bring him up. Welcome to the show, Chris Jarvis, my friend.
Mike, how are you, brother?
This is my calm state. I'm holding it in, man. I am so honored and happy to have you here and share you with our audience and the Hounds, my friend. Real quick, how was Antarctica? If you want to share that.
Antarctica was great. I was speaking at an event in Austin, and the guy walked up to me, and Carl Shepard said, "Y'all want to go to Antarctica?" And I was with a good friend of mine, Garrett Gunderson, and we looked at each other and said, "Yeah, of course." He said, "How about in 2 weeks?" I said, "Oh, 2 weeks. Okay. No, I'm not going to go in 2 weeks." And then a week later, he sent me another note and said, "How about you speak on a cruise with Deepak Chopra?" And and how do you say no to that? So I said, yeah, put it all together and made my way down there. And it was a long way. It was epic, and it was life-changing on a whole bunch of different levels.
I love hearing that. And by the way, if you ever seen Crocodile Dundee 2 or any of the Beverly Hillbillies, somebody called me the other day and said, "Hey, man, I want you to go to LA." And I almost went, "Oh, no, I don't even go to the gas station, Chris. I mean, that's a big deal to me." And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." I mean, so you're an inspiration, my friend. Let's get started. And folks, I see you in the comments. Thank you so much, man. Hey, till the winner goes the spoils. All right, let's dive into this because I want people to understand your story. Take the time on this, Chris. Before Giraffe Philosophy, before billionaires and high net worth clients, before all of that, what was the moment that made you realize surviving isn't thriving?
I was a math major, which I know isn't that common. I look more like a bouncer than I do like a math major. But
right.
My mother once said, "Your greatest attribute is that you're a lot smarter than you look." And so I was like, "Well, I look like you, male version." But no, I was that kid. Like, I was the kid who would finish his SAT math section in like 10 minutes. And I'm no more responsible for my math ability than I am for my brown eyes or my male pattern baldness. It's it's just something I could do. I could see patterns and work through numbers, and all of that was just real easy. And so I was an engineer. I changed over to math to go to law school of all things, and then didn't go to law school in the early 90s. I got a job as an actuary, working in insurance companies, making rates and doing all that stuff and passing the exams and working through the actuarial exams. And there was a moment when in the middle of my career, I realized that I was taking these tests. Like, think about the bar exam is one test. The CPA exam is one test. Actuaries have 10, at least the property casualty actuaries. So every 6 months you're taking a new test, and 30% of people who take each test pass. And when I got through about half of them, I realized that the tests were there just to keep the numbers down. And I was just jumping through the hoops like an animal in the circus. And it was at that moment, I'm an executive in an insurance company. I'm making money. I'm doing the things they're asking me to do. And I just thought, there's got to be something else. This isn't, it just felt like there was more. And I dumped my career. I applied to business schools. I didn't get into some. I got into UCLA, and I was in Boston. So I was like, I'm going to move to the other side of the country. I'm going to dump my career. I'm going to start over and figure out if there isn't something bigger. And that was, 26 years old, and, I was making money, and it was like, all right, let's just scrap all that and start again and take out a bunch of debt and go back to school. But I just felt like there wasn't enough. I just didn't want to be on the wheel doing the thing. I could see the path, but it looked like success to a lot of people, but it didn't feel like success to me.
We just had Curtis Rivers on, and everybody, right? And I love it. You're just a regular guy trying to figure out, ambition. You're an ambitious guy, but you're trying to figure out life and business. You're just trying to figure out purpose.
Sure.
Is that right?
Yeah, of course. And then after all that planning, you get to business school, and I took a Myers-Briggs test, and I was an ENTP, and they went through the 16 different combinations of those 4 letters. And here I am ready to go. Like, I'm going to go to business school, and I'll get the job on Wall Street, or I'll get the job in management consulting. And they said, ENTP, if you're this, you are infinitely unemployable. And I thought, awesome. I have just burned all the bridges. I have just taken out a bunch of debt. And now I'm at school. And luckily, there's a great entrepreneurship program, but I didn't come here with an idea. So
Right.
I got to find an idea. I got to find something out. And so I dove into that whole, what the hell is entrepreneurship? What do I want to do? How is it going to work? So they had to start it again, and we did start a business in school. The only guy in school in my class that did start a business. And like the people in my class started stamps.com. Susan Wojcicki was in my class. She ended up, They started Google in her garage. She ended up becoming CEO of YouTube. Like everybody was doing tech stuff, and I wasn't a tech guy. And we started a publishing company, which then became a legal referral business, or a pharmaceutical ad agency, which became a legal referral, a financial firm, became a whole bunch of things. And eventually, after 5-6 years of not making any money, we started making a lot of money. And, then the business was growing and growing. We had 70 offices around the country, and I was making probably like $700,000, $800,000 a year. I'm 40 years old, or 38 years old. I got married, had my first kid. I got divorced, and then I got kicked out of the company I started. And it's like, now I'm 41. I'm broke. I've got no job. I'm fighting to see my kid. It's just like, all right, let's rip it off and start again. And then there's that whole, whoa, okay, like, who am I? And the self-doubt, and am I a failure? And am I, so even at 41, for people who are at that point going, it's too late. It's like, yeah, I ripped the Band-Aid at 24, 25, started something, made a bunch of money, wrote a bunch of books, traveled and spoke around the world, and then had it all ripped from me. And at 41, I'm like, all right, I mean, I can remember living on a friend's house, sleeping on his couch, and one day looking like literally thinking about jumping out the window and thinking, you know what? I'll only hurt myself. Like, I won't even finish this damn thing off. Like, I had no confidence. It's like, I'm not even going to do this well. So I thought I gotta figure it out. And that's when I went to people who I had hired or who had hired me and said, hey, you hired me and we worked together for a years, whatever it was. Like, what was it like working with me? And I asked questions. What worked? What did you get from working with me? Not what was the outcome, but I just asked deep questions. And what I found people saying was, they said, well, Chris, it's not about the financial solutions. It's not about tax savings. It's not about money you made me. They said, what I get from working with you is when I get done talking to you, I'm always looking at things differently. Like, you just have a way of getting me to look at things. You just see things differently and you give me a different perspective. And it was that going to people, which is probably the most valuable thing you can do, is ask the people you've worked with, you've worked for, who've worked for you. What is it like working with you? And what do they get from working you? What do they think about when they talk to you? How do you make them feel? Like, ask those questions, and that'll tell you more than any personality test, than any assessment, including mine. Like that, that changed everything for me, which is, all right, I get people to think differently, which there's a lot of people on social media and LinkedIn who call themselves thought leaders. And I don't use that. But that whole mind expander thing, if I can get people to think differently, comedians are always looking, we talked up, offline before, some people go for, what's the thing that drives them? And the comedian goes for the laugh. They want the audience's laugh. For me,
Right.
I like to be on stage, and I watch the head tilt. When you say something and it lands in somebody's head and it lands on one side and the idea is so heavy that the head tilts, they're like, huh.
Yeah, like me. You turned me into a bobblehead today. Yeah, because I'm feeling it. Yeah.
If I get that head tilt, then it's not about manipulation. It's, how do you get people out of this zombie effect of scrolling through social media and watching the news and all stuff that's meant to dumb us down and take our lives away? Then, like, the idea is the answers are all inside us, and everything's about human connection, and just get rid of the phone and get rid of the social and get to human connection. And that's where all the answers, I got a lot of that from the Deepak trip to Antarctica, is that it's the human connection, and it's higher consciousness and soul and what actually matters. And it's not the crap on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not the stuff on TV. And so, I had that moment, and those clients who told me, you get me to think differently. And it just started getting me to think, okay, how can I help? Instead of focusing on how smart I am, let's focus on how I can get people to think differently about their own situations, not get them to buy into my dogma or my ideas. It's not about me. Who cares what Chris Jarvis thinks? It's how can the person I'm listening to help me think differently about what I'm doing so I can improve areas of my life that I want to improve. Like, that's the question, right? It's not listening to your guest and asking if you can do what they do. The question is there anything that they're putting down that I can pick up that will help me improve some part of my life that I want to improve? Right? It starts with you.
Correct me if I'm wrong before we go to the halftime here. It's a reciprocity effect. It's like ping pong, right? You're helping them, but boy, they're giving you what you need, right? So you can help them more. And you see the comments. Look at these folks, man. It's just, I didn't get here by myself. Come on, y'all. Y'all know this ain't a costume. So I love this because folks in the comments, mostly Hounds. Yeah, see, this is coming from somebody who's been there, done that, lost it, and rebuilt it, right? And now living not just in success and monetary happiness, but your harmony, right, Chris? You're just happy and you live life fully, and that's what this is about, man. The time, money, and freedom, because you could do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want, for as long as you want. Correct?
That's the name of the game, isn't it?
That's why I get up early and stay late, my friend, because most people, and I'm not preaching, but I love this because this inspires me, right? We all need inspiration. And I just realize it myself. Most people work this hard of their life so they can hopefully enjoy this much, right? The folks who are willing to show up to things like this when it's not convenient, go to the trip in Antarctica when you said no at first, Those are the folks who ended up working this hard so they can enjoy this much, right? And they have the time, money, freedom, health to do so. And that's what we're about. We're not preaching. We're saying you're not too old. There's all these excuses. So before we dive into more of what Chris is doing, because now that you know this guy's got the heart, right, and we're not off key here, let's dive into some of the how-tos. Before we do that, I got to give a shout out to Mike King at Mike King Biz Radio. Chris, this guy, he's so beloved by his community. They put him on the Jumbotron during the basketball games, right? And he's always humble. He's still blush every daggum time. So thank you, Mike King, for our partnership, pushing people up in the best way international together. Can't thank you enough. ESPN, thank you for making this possible. And folks, no strays out there, right? No strays. If you have a passion to be somebody and do something special, dadgummit, you might just need the people resource support to get it done. And if that's the case, check us out. Go to Hounds of Business on YouTube. Check out our free video library there. We got tons of folks like Chris out here talking real. You can find me on LinkedIn, Redneck1, Mike Asherbranner. Or weather pending, you can send me an old school carrier pigeon like Game of Thrones. I'm still good. So if you're just tuning in, we are with Chris Jarvis. And folks, go ahead and go to chrisjarvis.me/wildfactor-exam. chrisjarvis.me. And if you can remember the rest, wildfactor-exam. All right, it's a 4-minute exam. It is going to be life-changing. Go check it out. So, Chris, thank you for opening up with all of that because, man, you see heart first, right? I want people I can, align with, share values with, right? People who want to play the game voluntarily, right? Reciprocity, ping pong. That's what attracted me to you at first because I said, this guy, he built from heart, not just metrics, right? So on that note, you say this, and before we get into it, I have to ask. You say a lot of entrepreneurs are running hard but thinking short. You mentioned that a lot here today. So from your experience, what do billionaires and elite performers in order for us to get there? How they think differently?
The biggest difference. So if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, going back to psychology class, if you can remember, the first thing you need is survival. So if you can't breathe, you're not thinking about much else, but you need air, you need food, you need water.
Right.
The next thing is you need security. If you don't feel safe, like if you don't feel safe at home, if you don't feel safe in the places where you are, you're not thinking about making money. You're not thinking about anything else. Security is a big, safety and security, life, survival, and then safety and security is 2. The third step is love and belonging, is things that people need. When I wrote 6 Secrets to Leveraging Success, the research I took from Emmanuel Saez about income inequality, well, a lot of interesting stats I might get to, but in that book, the big thing was the difference between people who are successful never become super successful. So if you make $300,000-$400,000 a year, statistics say you'll never get to 2 million.
Oh, wow.
And well, because to make 300 or 400, you know how to run hard and work hard, but to get to millions of dollars of income, you need to build a business, which is very different. And you have to step away from doing and start moving into building, which is a step backwards. And where people who are really successful, that Maslow's hierarchy, yes, where the billionaire is different from the millionaire. And what that is love and belonging has a different definition. So love and belonging for most people feels like they want to be part of the team. They want to be part of the crowd. They want to fit in. And so the challenge you get is, depending on what news station you watch, is there's pressure for you to adopt all of the thoughts and all of the beliefs and all of the values of the leftist or the rightist group, whichever one you want to belong to. And individuality is lost. We talked offline before this thing came on about you being accused of being a leftist because you had done something to help promote something that somebody who was associated with the NAACP was doing to help other people. And you're like, I'm a humanist. I like people. And so there's all this pressure. And so people want to belong. And the problem with a bell-shaped curve is you end up moving back to the middle. And the average person doesn't make a lot of money, doesn't live a very remarkable life. And the line I like to use is that everybody wants to be an outlier. They want to make more money than all their friends, but they're afraid of being an outcast. And the thing is, you can't be one of the guys and have 10 times as much money.
I'm going to crochet that on a pillow or a camo hat. Say that again. Say that everybody wants to be an outlier.
Everybody wants to be an outlier, but nobody wants to be an outcast. The truth is, if you want to have more, you have to be different. You have to leave the herd. That's the chapter, you know, in the whole Be the Giraffe book is this, you know, getting out of the weeds and breaking free from the herd and not being one of the people. You want to be one of one. And so people who do unique things have to leave the herd, and they're going to be ridiculed and they're going to be mocked and they're going to be, it's just going to happen. Like, that's the thing. If you want to be like everybody else, then you're going to end up with what everybody else has. And so that's the difference with billionaires, is that they're not afraid to leave everybody behind because they don't want what those people have. I just had this conversation with my son last night when I said, why do you want to do what everybody else does? Like, by all, 95% of people think they're smarter than average. So it's not a problem to put down the average, but it's like the average person is a loser. If you're thinking about business and entrepreneurship, right? The average household makes $50,000 a year. And for some people, that's the best they can do. But I don't know many people who aspire to make $50,000 a year if they're running a business, right? They're not running because there's a lot easier ways if your security and stability and your upbringing are put you in a place where that's as good as you can do. You can do that working for somebody else. You don't need to take on all the pain and the frustration of running a business, right? You would do that. You would take all of that extra pain and responsibility of being a business owner because you want more, right? Because you could go work for somebody else, and that's fine. If that's where you are and you need to do that to take care of people and provide that level of safety and security, then you should do that and do it without any pain or shame. But if you started a business, like, there's so much more. Business owners should become masters, not martyrs. And they usually do become martyrs because they end up working so hard and they don't understand how to be different, and that you need to be different to get to that next level.
You are preaching to the choir. Folks, I'm over here taking notes. I'm hoping he don't invoice me, y'all. I know y'all are too. I know the folks in here. And you hit the nail on the head. This guy here, Nathan Mitchell, he did in 4 months what took me 3 years. And he came out of corporate. He saw me and he threw on his hoodie and accelerated. So what you're saying, this is what people need to know. And you're no BS style. You're not reading it. You're not just coming up with this stuff at some coffee shop, right? You are living this. And that's what we put on the show. That's what the whole Hounds is full of. And so we only got a few minutes left, Chris. So if you don't mind, touch base, and you can explain the giraffe, principle. But on the giraffe principle and business note, if someone listening out here is feeling stuck in the weeds, man, what does rising above the noise, all the things you just talked about, actually look like in daily decision making? Because that's where the war is fought. It's in everyday decisions, right?
Yeah, we said chrisjarvis.me/wild factor is where I put together the assessment where you can look at your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, your fun. It takes you, use BTG, short for Be the Giraffe, makes it free, so it's not going to cost you $20.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll take you 5 minutes, and you'll find out whether you're an eagle, elephant, monkey, dolphin, penguin. And the reason why I do this is not so I can create a bunch of, clickbait. I do this to give you some context so that you can get scores on what's working in your life and what's not. Because at the end of the day, you should have the intention when you get on a show to realize, hey, I'm here to listen, but I want to listen because I need to find a way to be successful and improve my health, or because I need to find a better relationship with money, or because I need to work on my relationships while I'm also building my business, or whatever your intention is. Let's have some context for why you're doing things and a starting point so you can measure how you're successful. And then the giraffe thing is, the giraffe's the only animal that evolved to be more vulnerable, not less. And that was a key moment in my life when I realized that I could accomplish more when I stopped trying to be the smartest guy in the room, and I become the most vulnerable guy in the room. And that's why this whole thing started with me losing everything and having it not go well. The book Be the Giraffe and the TV show Be the Giraffe.tv is all about vulnerability and helping people understand that the journey is, forget the social media crap and the watches and the planes. And I actually went on a trip with one of the most famous, influencers out there. And, we all took pictures by the jet, and then we all went to DFW and flew on Southwest Airlines. There's all this BS that's not real. And like at the end of the day, the stories about success aren't the ones that relate to people. Relatability comes from sharing your failures. And then you realize when you share those things that somebody else is going through the same thing, or somebody has been through it and give you advice. And that's how you create deep connections, which those are the people who want to help you succeed, not the person who wants the watch you have on, right? Or wants your seat in first class. Like that's just not where the magic happens. So you got to be vulnerable and share that stuff.
Yeah, and you are the real deal. You asked me backstage, you're like, what do you want from this? I said, I want these folks who are with us, around us. I want them to see and be inspired, honestly inspired. They show up, they push us. And I knew when they saw and heard from you, it would move their needle. It would get them further faster, because these folks aren't here just to make money. And that's okay, folks. I'm not knocking it. They're here to make an impact. All the crap that they went through, they want to help other people not have to struggle as much through it. And that's redneck Camelot, Chris. And you've done that. And I'm sitting here taking note. My coach, when he watches this, he's going to lose it, because he just told me this stuff today. And here you are saying, yeah, you better do it, Mike. I don't want to hear no excuses. So we wrap up in the last few minutes. We got to have you back, brother, anytime, because we just scratched the surface on what you can do. And I know folks are going to blow me up like, man, get him back on next week. So on that note, practical advice, right? I want to emphasize this, because they're principles, right? It's like if I work out and you work out well, you're not going to grow muscle and I won't, right? Like when you practice the principles, anyone can succeed. They don't discriminate. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think you have to be careful who you talk to and who you work out with and who you take advice with. I got some advice from Doug Hofstetler: only seek the praise of the praiseworthy, right? If the only people you care what they say are people that you admire for who they are. And that's a big one. And so finding those people in your life that you can look up to, those are the people you take advice from, and those are the people you want to impress. Everybody else, like, the hell with them. Like, who cares what they think? And the other piece of this is, so I think surrounding yourself with finding people you can look up to, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you to do the thing, not to stay where you currently are, is really important. Being open about where you are and realizing that some people aren't going to like it, or you're going to tell somebody and they're going to make fun of you, or they're not going to hear it. And over time, you're going to move through and evolve, and people are in your life for a season, and then you're going to find other people who can help you get to the next place. And I will tell you, you talked about life being, as a ratio, how much time is work and how much time is happiness. I think the key is to get into flow. And getting into flow is when things happen somewhat effortlessly and they feel easy. Like for me, getting on the show, you want to have me back on the other show, that's fine. You want to do a separate private webinar for your audience and work through some stuff for an hour and a half. Yeah, fine. Like if that's, because this is what I'm meant to do, so I'm happy to do it. I'm not worried about how do you monetize that. It's like, if you have a message that's meant to be heard, then you should get it out there, and the other stuff will come. And I think that's the putting yourself out there, having conversations, offering to help people, looking for feedback. That's the key to all of this, to me.
So in less eloquent redneck speak, you're saying you don't worry about outcomes. You cultivate the land and things crop like corn. Opportunities crop like corn, right? You're creating. You're not chasing.
Get up and get out of bed. I told you that my life changed dramatically 2 months ago when I hadn't spoken on stages in a while. I was doing a lot of high-end stuff behind the scenes. And then I said, I'm going to get out and do it. And I spoke 4 times in 2 weeks. And it was life-changing, to startups, to home builders, to, high-end business owners, to, just some regular everyday people. Just getting out there and having feedback and putting yourself out there and just seeing what works. I think that's, you can make as much money as you want. I don't have a problem with young people wanting to make $1 billion. I have a problem with the math, which is, if you save people $10 billion or you make them $10 billion, then you have every right to $1 billion. So this is about value. So by putting yourself out there, you find out what things are important to people, what things are concerning people, and then you help them address those things and figure out what, and if those things are valuable, then you can figure out where the value is. But that comes from human connection, from conversation, from exposure, from vulnerability, from interaction. It doesn't come from posts and tweets and snarky comments and Like, that doesn't solve anything. You got to get in there and have the conversations. And the only time people are going to tell you what really matters to them is if you're open with them and you share what's important to you, so that they can see your authentic self and know whether or not you're full of it, or you're somebody that they can trust with what actually matters.
Chris, thank you for sharing that. And you know what? That's the one thing that got me here, and I'll never leave. I never want to lose it. It will take me there. Is all these people went, wow, look at that crusty guy with a big heart, and they polished me up and put me out there. So, folks, hey, thank you, Chris, for inspiring with real down the earth stuff, man. Thank you for sharing your story. Folks, we'll take him up on that offer and bring this guy around as much as he wants. I know the Hounds resonate. Y'all showed up in droves. And folks on the air, in the comments, make sure you get your free code and go to YouTube if you missed it. Go to chrisjarvis.me/wildfactor-exam. Chris, my pleasure, brother. Thank you so much for coming. We just scratched the surface.
Mike, anytime. I'll be back, and looking forward to it. You do great work. Keep it up.
You got it, brother. I'll see you backstage, folks. Stay tuned. We got a powerhouse panel coming up. The ladies of I Am Magazine are going to be joining us, the editor and founder of that magazine, plus the men's launch, which has a ton of hounds in that, coming out in January. Don't miss that one. Same time, folks. See you on the next one. And happy Thanksgiving if you're celebrating. Enjoy the family. Don't eat too much. I probably will too. And enjoy yourself. Take some time off. Tomorrow can wait. All right. Be good. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.